18th work session. All members present except Kevin Malloy. He'll be here if possible.
Okay, the zoning issue I want to talk about is the Bolo Operating Corporation for that change of zone for filling station on the corner. And the reason I do is because Frank has a pretty extensive memory here. Um, Would you like to address it, Frank? So I need to,
Yeah.
I mean, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pages on this.
Brought extra copies in case the board did not have their copy. I know you got it electronically.
Makes
So I
sense.
thought,
I got it,
okay,
save it.
okay. Okay, I'm concerned about what the zone change planning is, and I think the best way to describe it is to look at the last illustration that you have, which shows an aerial photograph of the basic site plan. Speak into it? Yeah.
I also need, John, I think we need Mr. Jakubowski here too.
On Hebron, right? Yeah, he'll be coming in.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, what the applicant is proposing to do is to build a convenience sales store on the corner of 347 and 111, and this is basically on the northwest corner. And what you see there are basically a 16-pump gas station, and that's the elongated purple slash that you see there, and about 1,000 square foot, maybe 1,200, I forget the exact number, convenience sales store. That's located.
You're on what, the last page?
The last page, yes, that's this.
The aerial
right here.
photo.
There's 3 of them, though. I just want to see which one he's talking about.
Okay.
I didn't see purple on the other one.
Okay, for references, by the way, if you're looking for the Hess gas station is located right before the jug handle that you see going further north. And you see the long canopy that they have there, and it's right next to the shopping center. And it has that entrance and exit driveway right onto 347, so you can see the distances that you have right there.
Can I ask you a question? From what I see here, it looks like it's double. The old Shell station was here, and they've taken over where that house is too?
That's
Part of
correct.
the site?
Yeah.
So it's basically double the size of what it used to be?
That's correct.
More
The
than
zone change itself, the property itself where the gas station is if you look at, on the aerial photograph that we have, that should be the first aerial photograph, so we understand what's going on here.
Just 1 second, where is the, I know the Hess station, where is that? I
Patrick,
see-
you need a different
Pat-
package.
Pat,
He needs a different package.
Oh, here's the Hess station. Okay, right, got it, got it.
okay.
Thank
He
you.
can't. Patrick, you need a better aerial map that Frank has another one to give you. It shows you better.
John Valentine, how are you, John?
Morning, John.
Okay. Pat, this may be better right here.
Okay, but I see
Yeah,
that.
it doesn't really show it as.
Okay. What the applicant is requesting a change of zone for is only on the property to the north. The applicant where the...
Lot number 49?
Yeah, I
Yes.
believe so, yes.
It's R10, correct?
It's currently R10, yes.
And there's a house sitting on it now that's empty or whatever?
Yes. And where the former gas station is located right now is neighborhood business. That was zoned back in the 1950s.
Okay. And that's lot 52, to clarify.
That's correct.
Okay.
Now, what the applicant is doing is combining both lots, needs to put in order to build the gas station of the size that they are recommending with the 16-pump gas station. And by the way, the Hess is the 12-pump.
Do you have a layout of theirs, what their final layout's going to be?
Yeah.
So that's the property map.
What's the total size of the 2 lots combined?
It's about an acre.
Okay.
That's the design that you look at right there.
Okay.
Planning's concerned with this particular site. Planning's concern with this particular site has always been the access going onto and off the site. And given the fact that we have, this is, one of the most intensely used intersections that we have in town. Approximately 90,000 cars a day go through this particular intersection. And this particular use, and they testified at the public hearing, so it's not a,
Who's they?
the applicant.
Okay.
Applicant testified at the public hearing that their 60 to 70% of their traffic feeds off of existing traffic, which means that at peak hour times, it's meant to be utilized more heavily than at other times because it's feeding off the traffic. So it is going to have an impact in terms of that particular area. Now, the issue is the impact that we're talking about is not traffic generation. They submitted a traffic study to us, and here's the traffic study. And the traffic study, virtually 98% of this is about traffic generation, meaning how much traffic is going to be generated by the site and whether or not it's going to overwhelm the particular intersection.
Now, did they submit that to the planning board?
Yes, and to the town board. It's part of your record.
I don't have it, but it's okay, I wouldn't read it.
Okay. But they submitted, the town clerk has an official copy.
Before you go further, because I just asked, I don't want to throw you off your game.
Okay?
They can build a gas station at the first part of that lot, correct?
That's correct, yes.
And how many pumps would that be?
Well, it would probably be half the size of what.
Oh, the 6 pump, okay.
Okay, or maybe 8 pumps tops, if they were to do that. But that's not really the issue. The issue really is what's the impact going to be on traffic? And what I was mentioning was, basically when you do a traffic study, you look at 3 basic things. You look at traffic generation, whether the road has sufficient capacity to handle the traffic. You look at traffic circulation, that is, the movements that you are occurring on that particular location and whether or not they're going to be harmful to the traffic. And you look at parking. Their study addresses all 3 factors. But the bulk of this study, virtually all of it, talks about traffic generation, which is not the issue, which is what the planning department is concerned about. It's the access to and from this particular site. This is an unusual location. We have high-speed traffic moving on 347, and we have an intense amount of traffic moving on New York State Route 111. The state has designed this particular intersection with jug handles, the 2 jug handles to the north and south. Those jug handles are there for a purpose, and that purpose is to reduce the amount of turning movements at the intersections. And that's done for both traffic safety and capacity reasons. So there's an issue of what the state was trying to achieve at this particular location was to reduce the minimum number of movements at this particular location.
Then the state should have condemned the property and taken it if they felt they needed it that bad.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you, Tom.
And
on that,
basically, because the
Counsel.
man has an as of right to have that gas station there now with 3/4 of the pumps that he's asking, and he's adding another half acre of property
I'm not
to it,
disagreeing
which
with...
actually makes the site better. If you took the existing site and didn't have the R15, I mean, he's allowed
Okay,
8 pumps.
I'm not disagreeing with that.
Yeah.
However, I would say that when this zone change was originally recommended or voted on, it was recommended against both the planning consultant and the planning planning
that?
board.
When did that happen?
1950.
Oh, okay, wow.
1950?
1950, yes. 1956 to be exact. Okay, or
That's
something.
before I was born.
Okay. Okay. However, the issue, let's go back to the issue here. The issue is, and I'm not disagreeing with you, Councilman McCarthy, the issue is certainly when you look at a location like this, should the state condemn and acquire this? Because it becomes, the issues of traffic access become such that maybe they should acquire this, just like they required the Rothenberg's property at 347 and, what do you call it, 25.
It's a little too late now. They're
Well,
done.
well, they're working on Phase 2, which is the next phase here.
They were
But,
working on this since I'm 13 years old.
well, they, maybe actually even before then.
Can I,
Good.
before we go further? That piece that he wishes to change, that's an anomaly. I mean, you're talking about commercial across the street, a zoning, commercial zoning category next to it. What purpose does that residential lot have?
It doesn't have a purpose. I don't agree that it should be developed residential. I mean, what Councilman McCarthy was basically pointing out, which I happen to agree with, maybe these properties should not be developed or developed in some other fashion. But what we're doing here is expanding the use at a given intersection, and that's what my concern is. And I have, if the applicant wants to open up a gas station at this particular location using the existing zoning, there's nothing I could do about it. I don't like it. I don't think it's the right thing to do, but I won't stop it. But what we're talking about here is significantly expanding the use at this particular intersection. And I think there are problems with this particular.
But then why, and I'm sorry to interrupt you, why isn't the state involved here?
State never comments on a land use decision.
But don't they have to, excuse me,
There's a
doesn't the
traffic
state of New York,
circulation.
when he goes to submit, he is gonna have to go through state DOT, because that's a state road for egress and ingress.
When I
That's
just did
correct.
347,
So
if
the
you went
state's
down there, I
gonna-
did
the
a
state
site
is-
inspection on
The
this.
state
They
is
did,
gonna have a
the
determination.
state put huge curb cuts in this place,
Well,
huge. like,
the state's gonna
already,
have a determination on
both
what
lots.
happens there, how he designs it.
The state has said several times, and this has been a discussion that we've had with the state. When I say we, the directors in Suffolk, the planning directors in Suffolk County has had a conversation with the state, basically because the state has declined ever to review a land use decision. They believe that their sole role is, once the town or municipality makes the decision, it's up to them to try to see if they can make it work. That's their job. Our job here is to determine if this is an appropriate location for this particular use.
Right, so you mean this is an area the state wants to stay out of our business instead of all the unfunded mandates they put on us?
Oh, Frank, stay on
Okay.
topic.
Well, it's just an annoying thing, that's all.
It's not the state, it's a DOT.
And, well, it's
Okay.
in the
Okay, now,
New York State DOT.
okay, let me walk through what my concerns are in terms of this. If you take a look at the two driveways that you have here, okay, the least obnoxious driveway that you have here is the one on 111, which is basically, goes out, there's a three-lane movement there that you would have there. I would admit there is access to make a left-hand turn in this particular location at non-peak hours. In other words, if you were going north on Route 111, crossing over 347, that particular lane is a double turn lane. It could go either direction. So it's not just a turn
Well,
lane.
that could be a condition, if it's approved, that there's no left turn into that and curb cut, correct?
But how do you place a sign there that would be visible to the drivers? That's a hump that you would have there. Let me finish it.
Well, you
Tom.
could angle the curb cut in a way where it makes it impossible to come in, like we've done in other areas.
Well, I still see them making left-hand turns into the.
I know, well, you can't make people obey the law 100% of the time, but
Okay, but
if you
this
make
is
it
okay.
inconvenient, it's a good possibility
Well, what
they
I'm
will.
saying is, you can make a left-hand turn into the site at non-peak hours, which is not a problem. What I mean by non-peak hours, there's only a few cars making a left-hand turn, so there's enough stacking that you can make a left-hand turn onto this particular site.
I don't think they will, though, because if you get the Hess station on the right, why would they make a left to go in there?
Well,
You
I
know,
think the Hess gas station handles most of the traffic, but.
Going
well,
north, yeah.
Going there, but in any event, my concern, however, is the second driveway that you have, which is located where the current driveway is located on the existing gas station.
Mhm.
And I would just like to.
Which one is that, Frank?
That's the one on 347.
All right, okay.
Now, one of the things is that that particular driveway is in a turning lane in what is called an acceleration lane. And this is an excerpt from ITE, which basically states, this is talking about the spacing of driveways. It says that a driveway and approach connection should not be placed within the length of an acceleration lane. And it goes on to describe what it's talking about here. That driveway is right in an acceleration lane for people making a turn. When you are making a turn coming down 111 and driving at that particular location, you are making a right turn. You are looking to your left because there are cars that are turning on 111 onto 347. You are not looking to your right at that particular location. So if you're coming down at a relatively high speeds on New York State Route 111 going south and making that turn, you're looking, your head is turned in the opposite direction because that's what you're looking at.
But isn't there a turning lane there? I mean, didn't they widen that so you can, no?
That's the turning lane. That's called an acceleration lane.
Okay.
That's the acceleration
Okay,
lane
could
that
I-
allows.
Frank, I know a lot of people here, I'm not understanding myself. If a traffic study, why won't we do a traffic study if you don't like his traffic study?
I would love it if you did.
What if our own traffic department did that study?
That would be fine with me. What my concern is in this particular location, that we haven't addressed these issues at all, the access onto and off this particular site.
The thing is, bottom line is what you got here is double the size, a better a better route than you ever had. And as of right, they can come in and just redo that thing for 3/4 of the size now and say to heck with the residential property and still do what they want to do.
This gas station has been closed for the better part of about 10 years.
I know, but now they're
because
talking, I know, but that's in the past,
More
this is
than
the
that.
future
More than
now.
Okay.
More than that.
Now they're looking to do something with it.
But the reason why it was closed is because it is in a terrible location from an access point of view. It really is not in the best location. And as far as I'm concerned, and this goes back to what Councilman McCarthy was talking about, this property should, in my view, poses a problem in terms of its development at that particular intersection. No matter what you do, the supervisor asked me earlier in a phone conversation, what can you do with that particular property? There are some less intensive uses that you could put there, but I do believe the best use for this particular property is not to develop it for that particular intersection. Putting two driveways at this particular location where you have this amount of traffic going through, 90,000 cars a day, is not a good
Frank, could you tell
location.
me, what could you put there that didn't have two driveways? A driveway in and a driveway out?
Well, first off, you could have one driveway that serves as a driveway in and out.
What
So,
would be less intensive? What type of a business?
office use, for example, would be less intensive in terms of that particular use. By the way, I'm not saying that that's better. I would prefer this not be developed at all, that this property be acquired by the state or be acquired.
Well, the state has just completed major renovations there. If they were going to acquire
They
that
would've
property,
already
they would have done that several years ago.
I understand that, but what we're doing here is either, we have the choice of whether or not to expand this particular use. And I would say if you ask for a recommendation, is not to do the zone change, let the applicant figure out how to do with his property what he feels he best
But
can
the
do.
expansion makes better use of the property and it's safer where you can come in further to the north. If we just said, no, you're not gonna get this here, and you're just gonna come in here, you're having people come in and out on an acceleration lane. Actually, this plan is actually a better plan if that's what if there's gonna be a gas station there.
With all due respect, Councilman, I don't agree.
That's okay.
I don't think that when you take a look at high-speed traffic on 347, the cars are traveling, 55 miles an hour, and you have people coming out of a driveway, and you also have turning movements in this particular location, those are areas of
No, I was
conflict.
just expressing what you said, let him develop what he has. If he develops what he has, you're gonna have this, and that's it, for everything. And you're saying, which is really bad. Now at least you got it here, and not just being slammed into one area. is what
Well,
I-
that's the question I want. If the zone changed it in the curb, and he built a gas station as of right, would you not still have the same circulation?
Yes, you would.
You still have the same circulation problem.
But you're not as intense and you don't have as many cars going through that particular area. And I don't think this property should have been zoned neighborhood business because of the access. Remember, when this decision was made back in the 1950s, this road probably was the only traffic light that was probably for the next five, until you get to 25. I don't think there's any other traffic lights in terms of this
Like
particular
I said, it
road.
was before I was born, it's one thing I can't get blamed for.
But what we do know nowadays is that there's a lot of traffic moving through this particular area.
Okay, but
and-
Frank, I'm going to interrupt if you don't mind.
Okay.
please. You're a planner. I'm not saying you shouldn't know about traffic. What if we took time, how long would a traffic study by your own department take?
That's up
month?
to,
Well,
yeah.
that would be my recommendation, and either the traffic study puts a lie to what you're saying, or it confirms it.
Okay,
Without a traffic study be permitted on two state roads?
Say it again?
Without
Doing a traffic study on a
be
state
permitted
road, on two state roads.
highways?
Well, it's not a question of being permitted, the question is we would do it. Frank is making representations that I don't know that are necessarily true.
And I don't know necessarily that you need a study.
I
For
think
example, Frank,
that-
you said that people coming off 111 going west are looking to their left. Is that
Yes.
what you said?
yes, because they're merging with the traffic and there's turning
They're
movements
not,
coming off.
but they're
of
not
one.
merging with the traffic. There's a traffic control device at that intersection which stops the westbound traffic when the traffic is coming south on
Yes, but not the
111.
not the turning of left going, people going north on 111 are able to make a left-hand turn at that particular
Only
location.
at a light, at an arrow.
No, you can make it, you
They're
can
going
make,
north on
It-
111?
yes, you could
If
make
they want to
it,
make a left, there's an arrow there, green arrow.
To make a left turn.
you could
Make
make
a
it,
left turn.
you could make it on, I believe you could make the turn on green.
Well, you probably could make it, but there's a very short space there for
What
people
I'm-
to come up
What
and
I'm
make a
getting
left turn.
at
And then
that
there's a
particular-
green arrow.
What I'm getting
Permit-
at, when you're making those turns, you're looking, when you're turning on a road, you're looking to merge, your head is turned in one direction. That is standard. You're merging with traffic. People are looking towards the road. You're not looking towards a driveway. This is, these cars are going to be, because of the angle, are going to be traveling around this particular intersection at relatively higher speeds than if the road was 90 degrees. And there's a driveway.
The ones going south or the ones going north?
The ones coming south, making a turn onto 347,
Okay.
are going to be going at a relatively high speed around that particular intersection because that intersection is only a slight turn to make a right-hand turn. And the normal view of somebody is when they're making a turn is to merge with traffic. They're looking to your left. You're not expecting to see a driveway immediately right after you make a turn.
You're not
And that's-
making an extreme turn. You're gradually going into traffic.
That's correct.
Okay. All right.
And I think having if, for example, and I realize that this would be an extreme, if we eliminated that driveway, then I think the issues of safety on this particular site are eliminated, and we can discuss whether or not this is feasible, but I think with the applicant, from his point of view, needs that extra driveway in order
Sure,
to make
if you
that.
eliminate that driveway, you eliminate the business.
That's correct,
All right.
and I understand that. But I think that driveway is unsafe.
Okay.
Yes,
I
Roger?
need, if you don't mind, when we conclude this talk in the executive session, I need to ask a question of the town attorney.
Okay.
Okay.
You know,
Also-
you don't have the findings of fact of the planning board here, we just have a letter that they recommended it from the planning
That's
board.
all they did.
There's no findings of fact
No.
from for their recommendation?
I could give you the minutes if you would like, or
Yeah.
the discussion.
Yeah.
But I believe no, I don't want to summarize them. I'll
Was
let
it a
you-
No, I'd like
long,
to see
was
the-
it a longer meeting? I mean, lots of
No, I
questions
would say-
asked?
No,
No.
I think it was about a half-hour presentation. They had their people do their presentation, and the board read our memo.
You know, I'd like to see the traffic report, and I'd like to see, the deliberations of what they
Okay.
discussed.
I'll make a copy of this for you.
Remember also, you are, Frank, testifying here, you're in complete contradiction to the SEQA. This board voted 5-0 for a neg deck. And if I might, we did that on May 7th.
Yes.
That was quite a while ago.
Mhm.
And now we're the day before we're gonna vote on a zone change. I'll just read two quick paragraphs. Proposed development of the subject parcels is not expected to result in significant increase in traffic volumes on adjacent roadways as the proposed use, filling station, typically does not generate significant amounts of new destination vehicular trips, but rather captures existing, which is already utilizing adjacent roadways. And G is, although the concerns have been expressed regarding vehicular ingress and egress from the subject parcel, a significant adverse impact upon traffic circulation and safety is not anticipated as the roadway adjacent to the subject parcels under the jurisdiction of New York State Department of Transportation, and any of the subject parcels, including the adequacy of proposed mitigation measures such as restrictions on turning movements, will be the subject of a full review by the said agency. We voted 5-0 for the SEQA, and now we're turning around the day before we're gonna vote on a zone change, and we're dumping it into traffic studies and everything else.
Well, I just wanna see the
I'm
existing traffic
satisfied the
study.
way it is. I think it's a good piece of development. I think the DOT will make it safe, with all due respect to Frank's opinion. We did a SEQA, the SEQA looked at traffic and everything else, character of the neighborhood, et cetera.
Okay. I could understand, in all due respects, Councilman, I could understand people saying those kind of things. However, this is supposedly, traffic is supposedly a science, and none of these particular driveways match anything. I brought our books here in terms of where you're supposed to place driveways, how you're near an intersection, how far they're supposed to be, what you're supposed to do, etc. According to the standards that are published by the IT, not standards by us, we should not have these two driveways.
What does
That's-
IT mean?
Institute of Traffic
Okay.
Engineers. We should not have these two driveways. Now, if these two driveways are not meeting the standards that are in these books that are here, then it would seem to me that there should be an explanation as to why. I'm not necessarily saying we should always adhere to standards here, but it's very clear to me that these two driveways are problematic. The second one being the one on 347 more so than the one on 111. That being, I would expect some discussion on that. What I have to date and what you've read to me, and that's very clear, looks like it was taken right out of this page, which is right at the end of this report here, which is, this is the only, excuse me, on page, well, there's no page numbers, but this is the section that they have on here, access and site circulation. It's basically those three things that they're discussing, and there's nothing in this report statistically that gives me any,
What is that report?
this is the traffic study submitted by the applicant. There's nothing in here other than a statement that, you know, yeah, here you go, Tom. It's, you want me to point it out? You go,
That's
Tom.
it, that's fine.
So my concern is, you know, you have driveways here that, you know, are supposed to be designed when you have, let's say, a driveway on 347. And for example, take a look at the Pioneer Diner, which all of you have been to at one time or another, which is located on the south side of the road. If you take a look at the Pioneer Diner,
Out like Dallas?
it was what?
Out like Dallas then?
Well, whatever it used to be, whatever it is now, I guess. There's the de-acceleration lane into the driveway, and then an acceleration lane that comes out of that particular driveway. That's designed properly for a high-speed road. There's nothing, this driveway's in a turn lane. I looked at, by the way, at all of the other driveways that we have. We have other gas stations on 347, such as the one at Southern Boulevard and the like, and I've looked at those particular locations and seen what they have in access to their site. None have a driveway like this that's in an acceleration lane. All of them have something which is separated out. So this is, to me, that this is an issue right here.
The only thing I can say,
So,
it's an
Tony, would
issue,
this not create an issue also?
but the
The
issue,
fact that we,
Well, John,
Voted.
Eddie, want to talk about that in exec?
I don't know if it's executive session, I'm just asking, would it create, well, we've approved the SEQA on this, SEQA determination, neg deck. So does the applicant
That's
have a
negative.
recourse?
The negative declaration has to do with the environmental impact on it, that has to do with, doesn't have to do with the site usage specifically.
I've always been told by Russell Barnett, a secret approval was tantamount to basically 99% of an
We've
approval.
been told that before.
I don't know if it's right or wrong, but that's what always been told.
And you're correct, Councilman. That's correct, once you adopt the secret declaration. However, you have not approved the application, and I believe the board is exercising due diligence if it decides to examine this. And that's what I am requesting.
Excuse me, the secret is a precondition to approving the zoning. Doesn't mean you're obligated to grant or deny the application for the rezoning.
Correct.
It just has to do, it's a procedural prerequisite before you can get to the point where you can make a decision on it.
But I read excerpts here. This is not people saying this. This is our environmental experts. And this is what they have on writing in this document.
And if I recall, that
And
document doesn't
it
get
lists,
done.
it notes DOT. They're gonna look at it. And I
Well, that's a
would
litigation.
find it hard to believe after millions of dollars spent on the redesign of that road, that DOT would just say, well, if the town wants to build it, go ahead and pour the
Well,
traffic on the
CEQA
street.
doesn't
They
come
would have to
unless
look
every
at it.
department signs off on it.
Of course, the
And that's
DOT
one of the
has to
departments
look at
is
it.
traffic, our traffic department. Every department has to sign off in order for a CEQA to be completed. And that means our traffic department signed
That's
off
correct.
on it to that report. And what I'm getting down to here really is, 3/4 of the site is basically allowed to do what he wants to do. What he's doing here is actually putting a safer entrance north of this, like Frank just said. The safer entrance is now to the north, which you wouldn't get if we don't give him the zone change.
Agreed.
You know?
But our traffic department has signed off on it already, as Tom points out. Therefore, why would we encourage them to do another traffic study?
The reason I
Would-
say it, the study is, what's the delay of a meeting or two meetings to do a traffic study, either to put him wrong or put him right? Whatever the board wants to do, put it on, put it on.
I can't speak for traffic safety, but if my experience has been with traffic safety is they let the harder issues, because when it's on a state road, become a state issue, because they have a tendency to support, let the state make its own determination.
Okay.
Not so much ours.
Which the state will do, no matter what we do.
No, state does not do that. With the state, this is the complaint that we've had with the state with regard to, they have expressly said that they are not going to deal with land use issues. They are, in other words, if it's a terrible zone change, they're not going to comment on it. All they're going to do is look at the traffic access issues. We're the ones that make the determination on land use. That is the town.
Yeah, listen, I agree. I'm just advised that some of this should be an executive session. So we can conclude that, we conclude in the executive session the decision.
Could you give me a reason why, John?
Well, there's some matters I want to discuss that I believe are confidential communications, I'd like to bring into executive session.
Confidential, there's no litigation, so why would that be confidential?
Communications between counsel for the board.
Which board?
Town board. There are some things that are not they're just general confidential communication between counsel and the board.
I don't think that's executive myself. I'd like another attorney's opinion. Matt?
It's an attorney-client litigation, that's what it's getting.
I don't know, I think you're really, on a fine line there. I don't think it's executive.
All right, so, okay, I don't need to know any more anyway. Do anybody need any questions or further?
Good.
Well, I do have one. If this were approved and now the site plan goes in, is there a review of that site plan by the state DOT?
Yes.
Yes. There is. Okay, that's it.
That's when you get involved.
I did bring here, there were 3 site plans, did you all review them, so I can put them on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay. I have, and I put it in my note to all of you, 1, 2, 3, 3 personnel matters and 2 contractual matters.
Supervisor, there's another personal matter that,
Okay.
without naming the person, that
Okay.
we're going to put a resolution on today, so we'll discuss that in
Okay.
executive session.
Right.
It involves a proceeding pursuant to Civil Service Law, Section 72.
Okay.
For litigation purposes, on executive session, Jody, 1 Lawrence Road, general enforcement proceedings against, in the old Northport Road, Lawrence Road corridor, and the New York Youth Club litigation. And and just when it comes to executive session, general rules of threatened or potential litigation or current litigation, plus if there's communications between the attorney and the board that are confidential communications, those are exempt from open session. And we'll talk about just the Ebola rezoning.
Okay, I'll move to go into executive session.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. I move to close the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Another fine job.
Next week when I do that, everybody says me. Not I.